Scrabble is often seen as a polite game, a quiet contest of vocabulary, patience, and spelling. A game played at kitchen tables, in libraries, and during family holidays. Civilized, intellectual, harmless. But Scrabble was not born in comfort. It was created during economic collapse by a man who believed games revealed what societies truly value. To understand Scrabble, you have to begin not with letters, but with failure. In the early 1930s, Alfred Mosher Butts was an unemployed architect living in New York during the Great Depression. Jobs were scarce, money was tight, and like many Americans at the time, Butts had too much time to think. He noticed something curious. The most popular games of the era fell into two categories: games of chance, like dice and cards, and games of skill, like chess and checkers. What was missing, he believed, was a game that rewarded intelligence in a way that reflected modern life. So he asked a strange question. What if a game rewarded not luck, not strategy, but language? Butts began studying newspapers. Not headlines, not stories. He counted letters. Page after page, he tallied how often each letter appeared in the English language. E was common, S was frequent, Q and Z were rare. This data became the foundation of Scrabble's letter distribution, a system that quietly mirrors the structure of English itself. Every tile value, every scarcity, every imbalance, nothing was accidental. The first version of the game wasn't called Scrabble. It was called Lexico. There was no board, no scoring grid, just letter tiles and word building. Later came crisscross words, which introduced the board and intersecting words, closer to what we recognize today. But despite Butts's careful design, no one wanted it. Game companies rejected it, stores ignored it, and for years, Scrabble quietly failed. Everything changed in the late 1940s. A man named James Bruneau discovered the game and believed in it. Together, Butts and Bruneau refined the rules, renamed the game Scrabble, and began producing it by hand. Boxes were assembled in living rooms, tiles were cut manually, boards were painted by hand. Scrabble wasn't mass-produced, it was handmade. The breakthrough came by accident. According to popular legend, a department store executive played Scrabble while on vacation. When he returned home, he couldn't find a copy anywhere, so he ordered thousands. Almost overnight, Scrabble exploded in popularity. By the early 1950s, it was everywhere. But Scrabble was more than a commercial success. It was a cultural statement. Unlike most games, Scrabble rewards knowledge, not aggression. There are no armies, no dice rolls, no elimination. Players compete using memory, vocabulary, and creativity. Victory belongs to those who understand language and how to bend it. Scrabble also changed how people viewed words. Short, strange letter combinations suddenly mattered. Key, za, Joe. Words that rarely appear in conversation became powerful tools. The dictionary, once descriptive, became authoritative. If a word existed on the page, it existed on the board. This led to controversy. Arguments erupted over what counted as a real word: slang, foreign terms, proper nouns. Different countries adopted different dictionaries. Scrabble didn't just reflect language, it forced players to define it. In competitive Scrabble, the game becomes something else entirely. Not a test of vocabulary, but probability. Players memorize word lists they will never use in real life. They study tile distributions, board geometry, opening strategies. At the highest level, Scrabble is closer to mathematics than literature. Yet despite all of this, Scrabble remains deeply personal. It's played across generations, across cultures, across languages. More than 100 languages now have their own versions of the game, each adapted to its own alphabet, structure, and rhythm. Scrabble endures because language endures, because words matter, because communication is power, and because sometimes the most competitive battles are fought quietly, one letter at a time. Scrabble is not just a word game. It is a mirror of intelligence, of culture, of what we choose to value. And that may be why it has survived for nearly a century without ever needing to shout. As Scrabble grew in popularity, it began to formalize its authority over language. To settle endless arguments at kitchen tables and tournaments alike, official word lists were created. The most influential of these became the official Scrabble Players Dictionary, a reference that would decide which words were acceptable and which were not. The dictionary did more than clarify rules. It standardized language for millions of players. Words that existed only on the page suddenly carried power, not because they were beautiful or expressive, but because they were allowed. Scrabble, once again, was shaping how people understood language itself. The game also quietly entered popular culture. Scrabble appeared in films, television shows, and even music. Frank Sinatra referenced Scrabble in his song "The Lady is a Tramp," weaving the game into an image of relaxed sophistication. Decades later, pop star Kylie Minogue would also mention Scrabble in her lyrics, proof that the game had crossed generations and genres. Few board games can claim that kind of cultural reach. Researchers, too, became interested in Scrabble, not just as a game, but as a psychological phenomenon. A study published in Psychological Research found that men and women often approach Scrabble differently. Men, on average, were more likely to focus on technical mastery, practicing anagrams, studying word lists, and analyzing gameplay efficiency. Women, meanwhile, were more likely to approach Scrabble as a hobby, valuing social interaction, enjoyment, and routine over competition. Neither approach was superior. They simply revealed that Scrabble was flexible enough to meet very different human needs. For a brief moment, Scrabble even became television. From 1984 to 1990, Scrabble aired as a televised game show, bringing the quiet tension of wordplay to living rooms across America. Contestants raced against the clock. Tiles snapped into place. Words were scrutinized instantly. It was an unusual sight, a game built on thought, not spectacle, broadcast to a mass audience. Yet even Scrabble was not immune to controversy. Over the years, competitive Scrabble has seen scandals and cheating incidents. Players were caught secretly memorizing tile sequences, colluding with opponents, or using hidden word lists. In a game built on trust, language, and precision, these moments felt especially jarring. They revealed a simple truth. Wherever rules exist, someone will try to bend them. And still, Scrabble endures. Despite disputes, despite dictionaries, despite scandals, because at its core, Scrabble is about something timeless, the human desire to arrange symbols into meaning, to prove knowledge, to connect, one word at a time. Subscribe to Board Games Historian for more stories behind the games we take for granted, because every game has a past, and some of them are hiding in plain sight.
We are crafting board games, and our main focus is in ancient and historical board games. Our games are handmade and engraved in a pouch. With a pull of the cord, the game packs itself, and you are ready to go. For more information, you may check the link in the description.